As you place your right hand over your heart, while all veterans may render their hand salute, we invite you to join with Grammy and Emmy award-winning country group Little Big Town as they honor America, and we salute our troops around the world with the singing of our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
So off we go in the NFC Championship game as the owner and founder and former NFLer Jerry Richardson hits the drum on the field. Keep pounding. That's what they say around here. Linus had his security blanket. Troy and I have him. Mike Pereira, rules expert. Bill Vinovich is our referee in this game. You can almost throw out the regular season numbers for Vinovich because it's an all-star crew.
But what you can't throw out is we probably won't have very many penalties. Penalties in the playoffs going into today, down 30%, more than 2 holding calls less per game. So I think, is that a result of a crew concept being all-star, or is it the fact that 2 of today's teams, both teams, are 2 of the lowest penalized teams in the league?
Maybe there's no coincidence that they end up as the final 2 in the NFC. Spanish language broadcast available on both Fox Deportes and by utilizing SAP on our broadcast. Arizona won the toss. They receive. Early look at Carson Palmer as Gano drives it. Time for the lead in touchbacks, and Gano pounds it out of the back of the end zone. And here comes Carson Palmer. You know the story by now and all the conversation about the year he had. He finally won his first playoff game. There's his number since 2014. Troy has been through 2 ACL tears. He's been through nerve damage in his shoulder that went down into his throwing hand. He did enough to get the win last week over Green Bay. What kind of gut feel did you get when we met with him yesterday?
Well, I got the feeling that they're going to cut it loose, but this notion that just because he finally got a playoff win, that's going to settle him down and not create any butterflies today, I think that's a mistake.
From the 20, it's a handoff to the rookie, David Johnson. He gets maybe a yard, and they love him. Cam Newton calls that kid Captain America. His name is Luke Kuechly, and he may very well be the best linebacker in the NFL. Here's the offensive line. A big upgrade over a year ago for the Arizona Cardinals is the Pro Bowler Mike Iupati.
Yeah, I think those 3 interior guys, they have their work cut out for them in this ball game, and whether or not they're going to be able to afford Carson Palmer time to take advantage of some of the matchups that he likes out there at the skill position.
Here's a toss to Johnson running right. Finnegan up from the secondary to make the stop. And it'll be third down and relatively long, a gain of 2 by David Johnson. This defense is terrific up front. Remember, K'Wan Short. We'll talk about him seemingly all night long.
Well, you look at that defensive front, they really set the tone last week in that win against Seattle. And here on the first 2 plays of this game, Arizona wanting to get that running game going, struggled with it last week. And they've got nothing to show for it after 2 snaps.
Third down and 7. Palmer protected, airs it out too high for Michael Floyd, and he had Floyd who found the void in that zone defense, and Palmer overshot him.
Yeah, and that's how he started last week's game. Carson Palmer's not a guy who usually misses high. He's able to drive the ball into those windows, and yet his first pass of today's game, it sails on him once again.
Drew Butler to punt, 3 and out to start the day for Arizona in their second champ game. The former Cardinal Ginn with a little room to run. And that room closed down in a hurry. Fua was in there to make the stop after a 6-yard return. And now we will watch Cam Newton, who gets a reaction from anybody watching NFL games. And what he told us is when his career is over, he wants to be able to look back and say, when I played, I had fun. And I don't think anybody has more fun playing this game than number 1 for Carolina.
Not only did he want to look back and say that he had fun, but he wants those that are watching him now to see that he's having fun. I don't think anybody questions how much fun he's having playing this position, and he should. When you consider the year that he has had, it's been a pretty amazing year for him.
First quarterback to have 30 or more touchdown passes, 10 or more rushing touchdowns. Handoff is to Stewart. And Stewart, who started last week's game with that 59-yard carry against Seattle, gets 4 this time as Morrow makes the stop. We look at this offensive line. That kid at right guard is good. He's only 22 years old, but it centers around Ryan Collier.
Yeah, he's the leader up front. He's the one who sets protections, makes the calls, helps out Cam Newton. This offensive line really has been the heartbeat of this football team this year.
2nd and 6, first throw, pass caught, Corey Brown. And in 2 plays inside Arizona territory, that one good for 14 yards.
Well, it's a well-run route. Cam Newton has time in the pocket, and with the man coverages, you're going to see a lot of that from Arizona. Things opened up right in the middle of the field, right in front of Cam Newton, and it's just a matter of driving the ball in.
This Arizona defense lost a tremendous player in Tyrann Mathieu. And he went on IR, tearing his ACL late in the game at Philadelphia on the 20th of December. They're still trying to patch that hole. Here's Cam, he keeps it instead of handing it to Whitaker. And Cam fights forward for 1.5 yards. Kevin Minter is in on the stop. This defense is coordinated by a 37-year-old James Betcher. Calais Campbell was there when the Arizona Cardinals went to the Super Bowl in the 2008 season. How about Deone Buchanan? He is a little inside linebacker, but man, is he tough.
Yeah, he's tough. We talked to him last night. He says he just loves being around the football, and it's pretty obvious. He was drafted as a safety, but for a 210-pound linebacker now, he is as physical as there is.
2nd and 9, 4 men on the rush. Newton to the sideline, that's Ginn. And the Arizona Cardinal for 1 year, Ted Ginn, has 13 yards and a first down.
This is probably going to be a matchup that we're going to see throughout this game. Patrick Peterson matching up on Ted Ginn, and Ted Ginn has terrific speed, and once you get a guy threatened down the field, it's hard then to come out of that and cover, and you see the separation that Ginn is able to create by threatening Patrick Peterson deep.
Did not have a catch a week ago against the Seahawks.
Right off the bat, Cam Newton going after their best corner, St. Peterson.
From the 35, out of the backfield, it's Stewart. And a quick tackle by Peterson. A gain of 3. Jonathan Stewart missed the final 3 games with a sprained foot. Been dealing with an ankle injury he suffered here at home against Seattle last week. And Ron Rivera, boy, has he grown as a head coach in his 5th year. Survived a 7-9 season, year 2. His team is rolling, 2nd and 7. Conchery. Good move and a nice spin as Buchanan makes the tackle, a gain of 5. And then on the other side, there's Bruce Arians, who is 63 years old, 1-1 in his career in the postseason. Finally got a chance in the NFL as the fill-in head coach for the cancer-battling Chuck Pagano a couple of years ago in Indianapolis. Year 3 in Arizona. And his big phrase is no risk it, no biscuit. He likes to push it offensively and defensively. Here's a 3rd and 2.
They do 20. They do 1.
Newton. Incomplete, broken up by Jefferson as he got the hand in there to knock it away from Greg Olsen, and that's a nice stop on 3rd and short.
And Tony Jefferson, he's had to do more with the injury to Tyrann Mathieu, and they run the slant route to Greg Olsen, and he's their leading receiver. Excellent coverage. Has the right hand on Olsen. Good no call in my opinion. But they split him out, do a lot of different things with him. He's a tough matchup, but Jefferson plays it beautifully.
You know, from 45 yards and having a tough time on special teams, Arizona has to take a timeout. And that won't sit well with BA, as they call him. And if Cam Newton has fun playing the position of quarterback, I don't think anybody's having more fun playing the role of head coach than Bruce Arians. Man, he lets it hang out. And he has a great quote. But when we talked to Carson Palmer, he said he is not what you guys think he is. You think he's the fun uncle at the party, the guy you want to hang out with in the corner. Maybe that's the case at a party, but for this team, he is a grinder, and he's hard on him.
He's intense. I mean, he wants it done his way, and he demands that it gets done that way, and he lets you know if it doesn't. But when you talk to the players, both with the Cardinals and then those that he's coached elsewhere, boy, they all love playing for him. He's very honest, very direct, and he gets his point across.
45 yards from Gano. Had a great year. 30 for 36, and this one is good. And the first point's put up by a smiling Graham Gano. Here at home, the #1 seeded Panthers lead 3-0. Aerial coverage provided by Nationwide. Congratulations to their spokesman, Peyton Manning, moving on to the Super Bowl. What a game that was. 20-18 was the final in that battle in the Mile High City with the New England Patriots.
That was a great game. Denver's defense, they showed up. Boy, they knocked Tom Brady around a lot. But congratulations to Gary Kubiak, and yes, Peyton Manning, and who knows, this may be it for him.
Gano will kick it away. He's got 1 touchback. He's got 2. Cam Newton on that first possession went 4 for 5, hit 4 different receivers. It was Stinson who was late in getting off. That's why the Cardinals had to take a timeout. His fault. 3-0 Carolina. Possession for Arizona. First one went 3 and out. Not to make too much of it, but for Carson Palmer with all that pressure, some put on by Carson Palmer, he needs to settle in and get off to a good first half start here on the road. 3-0 Carolina. I think they're blitzing. Palmer right into the ground, and down goes Carson Palmer at the end of it. There is a flag down on the far side of the field. Let's get the call from Bill Vinovich.
Ball start. Offense number 70. 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
And these Cardinals, with their first NFC West title since 2009, see a false start from Bobby Massey at right tackle.
Yeah, he's right on the end of the line there. And you can see, and then left tackle Jared Beldier, he got walked right back into the lap of Carson Palmer. And Beldier coming off a game that he struggled, didn't play particularly well last week against Green Bay. And he's the one who gave up the pressure right into Carson Palmer.
They back out of the blitz. Palmer gets a hit to the helmet, airs it out. It is nearly picked. John Brown the target. Robert McLean, who was added to the roster in mid-December, almost pulled it in.
Well, Coney Ely is getting the start with Jared Allen injured, and he's one-on-one with the left tackle, Valdir. He puts the pressure on Palmer. They still have a shot. It's a ball that gets away from Palmer as he's trying to drive it to the deep post. And McLean almost makes a heck of a play on that ball, but Coney Ely gives them a little bit more burst off the edge than they were getting from Jared Allen. They lose the experience, of course, with Allen not in the lineup.
Just get it away on 2nd and 15. Palmer into the ground again for the tight end, Darren Fells.
Well, this is a rough start. We're certainly seeing, there's Jared Allen. We're seeing pressure, and that's the storyline coming in. Is there going to be time for Carson Palmer? But there's pressure, but he's able to get inside of that. Thompson lays out John Brown over there on the sideline, but Carson still had a chance to make the completion, which should not have been a difficult throw, and he just buries it right into the ground.
5-9, sugar!
3rd down and 15. Here's Johnson's got a long way to go. Got to get to the 30. And we'll see where they mark him. They're going to give him enough. Kirk Coleman forces him out. And David Johnson, who the Arizona Cardinals feel can be as good as anybody in this league, running it, catching it, picks up 16.
Yeah, even Bruce Arians says the matchup problems that he creates. He has great appreciation for the coverage skills of these linebackers for the Carolina Panthers. That time they split him out, but even from the backfield, he just thinks anybody on David Johnson is a mismatch in the Cardinals' favor.
14 yards after the catch, and now Johnson goes down to the backfield. Thomas Davis, who they love, survived 3 ACL tears to the same knee, a loss of 2. What a good play.
Yeah, this shows you the kind of speed that Thomas Davis has too as he comes through, and then he runs it from behind. He goes untouched. He's able to make a play. Roman Harper, he's crowding the line as well. This is a hard defense to run the football against.
2nd and 12. Play action. Palmer steps into it. Airs it out. Nelson overthrown. They're trying to throw it downfield, but so far Carson Palmer has yet to connect.
Yeah, they've taken a couple shots here on this possession, and Bruce Arians, you see that big call sheet that he has. They script the first 30 plays, and within that, they've got about a half a dozen deep shots. We've seen a couple now already. Had some opportunity, as you're going to see J.J. Nelson, one of the fastest guys really in the league. He's got a step. Ball just too far out in front of him.
3rd down and 12. Blitz. Palmer in trouble. Throws short for the target, Michael Floyd. It's 4th down. And they were in the face of number 3.
Well, they're going to bring pressure off of the edge. A nice plan here. They bring the rush here, and they drop out Kuechly. They don't handle it very well on the left side of the offensive line. Upati does, but Valdir, he is struggling here in the early going. He doesn't come off of that and pick up the blitzing.
That was Finnegan coming on the blitz, and Carson Palmer has started 1 for 6. Back inside the 20, it's Ginn. Room. And slides down. Butler makes sure that he's down and touched. And they are going to mark him at the spot where the punter, Drew Butler, made the tackle. Ted Ginn almost burned his former team. Good for 33. And the Panthers up 3 have it. Carson Palmer trying to figure it out on the sideline. He's completed only 1 pass. It has that same feel to his start last week at home against Green Bay. Meanwhile, Carolina started more drives in opponent's territory, 33, than any other team in the NFL.
What?
They start this one at the 49 of Arizona. Up 3. Stewart spinning, falling as he made the catch, a gain of 2. Bruce Arians during the break was really upset after the coverage on the punt. And it could be for this from Teddy Williams as he got into the chest and the back and the side of Britton Golden.
Yeah, that's what he's having a discussion with, and he's also not too pleased about the hit Shaq Thompson had on John Brown on that possession, which should have been a penalty.
Here's Stewart. Buchanan whiffs on the tackle, and Jonathan Stewart picks up 6. Kevin Minter on the stop. 3rd and 2 coming up.
You talk about the field position that they're provided here on this possession and how many points they have scored this year. #1 scoring offense, and yeah, they've been good on offense. I mean, they create a lot of big plays, but that defense has had a lot to do with it. And then, of course, on this one, Ted Ginn with a great return.
33 yards, close to his season long, which was 37. Newton is so dangerous on 3rd and short. He can beat you with his arm, obviously with his legs, and the play clock is winding down. Timeout. The 2016 NFL Pro Bowl is coming up. Hall of Famers Michael Irvin. So he has his cell, and Jerry Rice select the teams at the Pro Bowl draft on Wednesday, January 27th. Then watch the Pro Bowl live from Aloha Stadium on Sunday, January 31st on ESPN at 7 Eastern. Go to NFL.com/Pro Bowl to learn more. And there are a lot of Pro Bowlers out on the field tonight. None of them want to play in the game, because that means they're headed to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and that would be great, of course. But on the other hand, you take a guy like Thomas Davis, who's been in the league as long as he has been, and this is his first time to be voted to the Pro Bowl. I can tell you, having been voted to it, it's a great honor and it's a great trip. The game for quarterbacks, maybe not so much, but that trip to Hawaii is pretty awesome. So,
did you ever get sacked in a Pro Bowl?
Did I get sacked? Are you kidding? It was
touch football.
Open game on quarterbacks over there. Oh yeah.
You can get deported if you do that now. 3rd down and 2. There's Freeney, 54. He's been a force. Backpedaling as he throws, and there's Olsen with a catch. And that great combination of Newton to Olsen, good for a 1st down and 13 yards.
You see this every week when you watch Cam Newton, the throws that he's able to make. He can drive the ball to any spot on the field from really any platform within the pocket. He's got some pressure, he's on his back foot, and yet he's still able to drive it with a safety barreling down on Olsen. And those two have been quite a combination since they made the trade for Greg Olsen.
Let's see who gets the flag.
Encroachment. Defense number 93. 5-yard penalty. Still 1st down.
There's the penalty. That was on Calais Campbell.
Yeah, I didn't see much from Ryan Khalil there at center. I think Calais Campbell's trying to say that he's given the head bob, and that's what drew him off.
It was the Hall of Famer, the great Sid Gilman, who said the great quarterbacks make a defense defend every blade of grass. And that's what Cam Newton does week after week.
Sid Gilman was the passing architect. I'd believe anything he said.
Here's Stewart. Frosty Rucker in there to make the stop. And isn't that the beauty of Cam Newton? Because of the strength of his arm, he makes the defense work on the far side of the field because he can drive it on a line to anybody, anywhere out there on the field.
Yeah, you know, most of these defensive backs, they worry about, you know, once the clock goes off that a guy's not going to be able to get the ball as far down the field. That's not the case with Cam Newton. And, you know, he creates problems clearly because he is essentially a running back playing quarterback as big and as physical is. It's the ultimate wildcat quarterback, but yet he can beat you from within the pocket. That he has proven any doubters that he had that he could do that this year.
2nd down and 3. How about this? Little toss to Ginn. Ginn slowed down a bit, still going inside the 10. Gets a block, touchdown.
deception sometimes within this running game for the Carolina Panthers. You're going to see left guard Andrew Norwell. He's going to pull and make it look like it's going that way. But they pull Ryan Khalil, the center, out the opposite way. Now, even with that being said, tackle has to be made there, and he's able to traverse all the way across the field and get it into the end zone.
Justin Bethel had a shot at him, couldn't bring him down. 10-0. The punt return by Ted Ginn of 33 yards set it up. So when you return one for 33 and set it up, you get to carry it in. Got blocks on the edge, made a young girl smile, and a 10-0 lead for the number 1 seeded Carolina Panthers. Was in December of 2008 with Miami at Kansas City. He carries one in here from 22 yards away, and in this NFC Championship game prior to Super Bowl 50, he's just made it 10-0.
Well, they're familiar with him in Arizona. He was with them last year, and like everywhere else he'd been, mostly a special teams guy, but great in that area, but has contributed in so many other ways offensively for Carolina.
Yeah, he's had a career year, 10 receiving touchdowns. Big part of the attack after Carolina lost Kelvin Benjamin, their second-year star on the outside camp. Well, what's it going to be, Arizona? Down 10-0. Thanks to Cam and company playing here at home. Arizona was 7-1 on the road. Carolina 9-0 this season at home, and it was actually Arizona, the number 1 offense in the NFL, number 2 scoring offense, and they better start looking like it fast. 10-0 Carolina. Quick throw. Brown out on the edge, breaks a tackle, and John Brown is out of bounds near a first down. And they're going to give him 11. Anything that Bruce Arians can find right now to settle Carson Palmer into this game.
I think that was a run call at the line of scrimmage, and then Carson just seeing one-on-one, and he took it. You know, coming into this game, Bruce Arians really thought the 4 wide receiver sets would give them the best chance to run the ball. Tried that on the first possession, 2 runs, only 3 yards to show for it. They're running more 2 tight end packages the last 2 possessions now.
Here's a good throw to Larry Fitzgerald, who is beloved in the Valley of the Sun, and even more so after his 176-yard day against Green Bay last week. 2nd and 3.
You see the tape there on Carson Palmer's index finger, and some of these throws, you just don't know how much is the finger bothering him. I know when we visited with him, he said not at all. Jay Glazer, he reported that in the pregame for us, but he is still having to wear the tape, so obviously there's some discomfort there.
On 2nd and 3, handoff is to Johnson, and the rookie drives for a first down. Tony Ely went for a little bit of a ride, and they know, as you said earlier, talking about Arizona, it's not going to be easy to run against Carolina, but they've got to stay with it, even down 10-0 here early.
Well, you've got to maintain some balance. It's a lot like when you face Seattle, the way that this defense is built. They've had a hard time protecting Carson for the most part, but also with a 10-point deficit, now they're splitting Carson Palmer down here wide, going Wildcat.
And it's David Johnson. That didn't work. A gain of 2. So Palmer out wide to the left. 2nd down and 8, coming up 2.5 left in the opening quarter.
I was going to say, I mean, you're having a hard time protecting your quarterback in the early part of this game, and Carson's a little bit erratic, and then you find yourself down 10 points. So this drive here, just trying to get something going. We said they like to take their shots. They had them on the previous possession, just unable to hit them.
Another big set out there with 2 tight ends. Here's Fitzgerald. He's going to throw it, and he throws it out of bounds. John Brown was in the area, and it will bring up a 3rd down. 3rd down and long after that trick play. And we've seen a lot of 2 tight end sets and not a lot of spread them out and and try and run it, or spread them out and try and pick them apart?
Yeah, we saw the Wildcat, then they come back with the reverse to Fitzgerald and see if he can't maybe get a big play down the field. And that play really did not have a chance with the pressure immediately on Fitzgerald in the backfield.
3rd and 8. Palmer, sideline, broken up. And there's the All-Pro Josh Norman in front of John Brown. And number 24 closed on it in a blink.
This is why Josh Norman's your all-pro corner this year. You see the way he drives back on the ball. He's cluing the quarterback. But when you're playing a receiver like John Brown that can flat out run by you, and yet you're able to plant your back foot and drive on that and almost come away with an interception, that's pretty impressive right there.
Carson Palmer has started 3 for 9 for 35 yards. Butler. Good punt. Fair catch. Hauled in by Ginn inside the 15. In just 6 days, it's another huge UFC event on Fox. Anthony Rumble Johnson battles Ryan Bader, plus heavyweights Barnett and Rothwell. It's live, it's free, it's this Saturday at 8 Eastern right here on Fox. Drive will start at the 12 for the Carolina Panthers. Cam Newton at the controls, trying to become the 6th Heisman Trophy winner to be an NFL MVP. And join a list with Horning, OJ, Earl, Marcus, and Barry. Up 10-0.
Brown. I got the inside.
Good protection. Downfield for Brown, overthrown. Corey Brown, who can really run, but Cam Newton overshot him by 5 or 6 yards.
I think Dave Shula's up there in the box, or Mike Shula, excuse me, the offensive coordinator, and he says, well, hey, if they want to try to make some plays down the field, we'll make some plays as well. They try to hit one up the seam. They run a double move with Corey Brown. There's Mike Shula there, who's really done a heck of a job of taking the skills of Cam Newton and marrying it with this running game and the passing game. And he says he comes into a game with more rushing plays than he's had at anywhere he's been.
Hand off to Stewart. Well played up front by Arizona. And they need a quick 3 and out. Buchanan on the tackle, a gain of 2. 3rd down coming up. And Cam Newton, who was number 5 in quarterback rating on 3rd down during the regular season, try and find a way to a 1st down.
Yeah, I think that really says it all there. 3rd down is a quarterback's down. It's a possession down, and these 2 quarterbacks have been 2 of the best all season long.
54 in it.
Extra men on the rush. Newton steps into it. It's got Brown wide open. And Corey Brown is gone. 20, 10, touchdown Carolina.
Here's the route here on a post, but you're going to see Rashad Johnson in the middle. And look at the move that Corey Brown puts on him. At the top of the route, he expects Brown to continue up the field and just completely gets turned around. And all that field out in front of him, and Cam Newton lays it out there beautifully.
About 3rd and 8, an 86-yard completion for a touchdown to Brown. And this Carolina team is flexing its muscles again here early. Last week they scored on their first 4 possessions. This week they have scored on their first 3. This to make it 17-0 with under a minute left in the first quarter. We saw it last week against Seattle. So far, we've seen more of the same against Arizona here in the NFC Championship game. It's all the home team so far, and that means somebody's happy with a souvenir football as Cam gives it away up 17. Celebrating in Denver, Colorado. A 20-18 win by Peyton Manning and the Broncos over the New England Patriots. Guys in that defense are probably watching this thinking, man, Arizona is tough to slow down. And now Arizona, talking about Carolina rather, in Arizona, they're trying to figure some way out on the sideline. They cannot get in the face of Cam Newton at all.
No, and they brought pressure on that last play and weren't able to get home. And Cam was able to double clutch it a couple times. And you know, when you bring extra rushers, you better be able to get home, or you leave those guys on an island. They're in the secondary, but again, a really good route by Corey Brown that gets Rashad Johnson completely turned around for the big play.
Well, let's remember this Arizona team was the #1 offense. It was a record-setting year individually and for the organization for Carson Palmer. But look at what's happened here. Early, like it happened last week against the Seahawks, 17-0 with time left in the first quarter. Another touchback off the right foot of Graham Gano. And let's go back to the touchdown.
Here's another look, and you're going to see the protection that Cam Newton has afforded. This offensive line really picks it up nicely, and he's holding the ball, double clutches it, and then is able to find Corey Brown on the deep crosser. But that route is excellent. He keeps his head down, and he gives every indication that he's going to stay up the seam. That's good work, and we showed the frustration, and we see it here. Both sides of the ball. It's not isolated to just the defense. This offense is frustrated too.
It's the longest pass completion in Carolina Panther history in the postseason, 86 yards. Here's Fitzgerald looking for a block. And well played by McClain. Thomas Davis both out there. Coleman in to clean up, a gain of just 2.
The team speed for Carolina is really impressive, and so you start throwing those things. If you don't hit it right away, once you get the ball in your hands, it's hard. This is a hard defense to outflank, and the pursuit from inside out from those linebackers. 3 first-round picks, and they can run as good as any linebackers in football.
Single. Double.
2nd and 8. Johnson right side gets a seam. And a nice run to pick up a first down as we close down the first quarter here in Charlotte. That good for 14 yards. And the ground game's been a little better than the passing game for the Cardinals, who trail by 17 on the road after one. The NFC Championship game back after this. As we start the second quarter, Arizona with 58 yards. They have yet to cross midfield. Carolina has gone 3 possessions, 3 scores. There's an NFC Championship fact. Team trailing after 1 has won the last 4 NFC Championship games. This is a big hole for the Arizona offense to try and climb out of. Here's Johnson. Davis with a play out on the edge. Let's go down to Aaron Andrews.
Joe, just to give you a sense of what's happening for the Cardinals defense over here, obviously a lot like the Seahawks last week, just very frustrated that this game is out of hand so far right now. You see guys like Marcus Golden kind of losing on his coach, Brenton Buckner. They actually had to be separated, guys trying to calm him down. Meanwhile, they're trying to go over missed assignments, trying to figure this whole thing out. They're just trying to keep their heads on straight, Joe.
Right now the focus is on Carson Palmer on 2nd and 6. Johnson, rookie trying to take over this offense. Davis trying to rip it out, can't do it. Roman Harper is there for the tackle, and a big run by David Johnson for 24 yards.
Well, Kyle Love, the defensive tackle for Carolina, he's able to get some pressure in the middle. With David Johnson, that's exactly where he was going to go with the football. He's able to cut back, break a tackle. He's had a couple nice runs now on this drive.
He checks out. Andre Ellington checks in.
59.
First snap in Carolina territory for the Cardinals. Ellington, delayed handoff, nothing. Latulele was in there. And he makes the tackle.
You know, we've seen on this possession, Joe, is Shaq Thompson, their rookie linebacker. He's been opposite of Larry Fitzgerald on most of these snaps. They have stayed base. That time there was 2 tight ends, but earlier 3 wide receiver sets. Carolina has stayed base, and that's the flexibility that Shaq Thompson provides because he is so athletic and can really run. They view him almost like a big nickel type player.
Play action. Palmer well protected. Floats it too high for a wide open Andre Ellington. And another missed throw by Carson Palmer.
Another missed easy throw too, Joe. That's, you know, there's time in the pocket. This was another one of those shots. They're trying to get the ball down the field. Looks like they may have had an opportunity, but he comes underneath and he's able to complete that. There's a real good chance they pick up the first down there.
Johnson back in there. 3rd down and 10. Palmer gets hit, down he goes. Ball's out. Recovered by Kuechly. Knocked out by Short. And the Panthers get a takeaway.
There's a
this game could not have started any worse for Carson Palmer. We'll get another look at that when we come back. Right now it's a turnover and the Panthers take over up 17. Here's the call.
After reviewing the play, the ruling on the field stands. First down, Carolina.
Mike Pereira is to our side here. Looked like the ball was starting to come loose.
Yeah, best look here, Joe. Watch it roll off the helmet. Just before it hits the ground, it rolls there. Just rolls away before the shoulder hits. Stands mean, of course, they couldn't prove it either way. And I think that's the right call.
And Carson Palmer to the sideline, wondering how it's going to turn around. It did last week. Carson Palmer had 74 yards passing at halftime, up 7-6. The difference is his defense can't find any answers for Cam Newton on the other side.
Yeah, no, he's not getting a lot of help, and interior-wise, they're not handling the inside pressure of Carolina with Starla Tulele and, of course, K'Wan Short.
This Arizona defense needs a stop right here. Starting from the 38. Protected again. Passes wide for Greg Olsen. Hey, if the Devil decided to quit, where do you think he would go? Well, Los Angeles, of course. That's what happens in the new Fox show, Lucifer. He gives bad a good name. Series premiere tomorrow, right here on Fox.
Well, this Carolina offense has been pretty good all year protecting the football, but Arizona defensively, second in the league, creating takeaways, and they need to come up with some kind of stop.
Here is Stewart, nothing there. It's Stinson. Sticks his nose in there to make the play. 3rd down and 10 coming up for Cam Newton. Good play by Stinson in his 2nd year out of Alabama. 5th round draft pick a year ago. Third down and 10. Newton backing up as he throws it out of bounds, and that time Arizona had pressure on Cam Newton. It's a quick 3 and out.
Yeah, James Betcher, defensive coordinator, he said every week when he looks at the opponent, the first thing that he's studying is how can he bring pressure and get to the quarterback. Haven't been able to get there much in this game, but on a big 3rd down play and needing to make a stop, he brings it once again, and this time they get home and force Cam to get rid of that ball a little earlier than they wanted.
Patrick Peterson waits for the punt from Nortman. From just inside the 20. Into a wall of tacklers, Joe Webb. Good utility player for the Panthers down to make the stop. Arizona's offense back to the field, down 17. NFC Championship game continues. Roman Harper, who is the veteran, the back end of this defense, 10-year pro out of Alabama, two-time Pro Bowler, and a guy who won a ring with the New Orleans Saints back in 2009 is out, got hit in the eye. And so Trey Boston takes his spot in the lineup. And there's the hit as the helmet moved and banged into the right eye of Roman Harper. Last time Arizona had it. Starting at the 21, here's a toss, and what a play! Johnson is knocked to the turf by Thomas Davis. Flying in and a loss of 6.
Well, you're not kidding. They got pulling linemen, and he hits it so fast, he just runs by everybody. You see him right here, and he just shoots it as soon as he sees it and recognizes it. Fitzgerald's not able to make a play on him, and he meets David Johnson right in the backfield.
That's already the 5th tackle for Thomas Davis.
This guy. To consider what he's overcome, and heck, I think he's faster than he was before he had all the knee surgeries.
3 torn ACLs. Just inside the 15, Palmer. Underneath, it's David Johnson, and he slides down near the 20. Last time Arizona came back from a 17-point deficit or more to win a game was in September of 1999 at Philly. Trailed 21-0, won 25-24, but the last time the Cardinals looked like they did during the regular season was never. This was a record-setting offense for the Cardinals, led by Carson Palmer.
Too many negative plays and too many times here in this first half you've been looking at downs like this, 3rd and long.
Third and 11. Palmer protected, has a man, and has a first down. J.J. Nelson. That may be the best throw we've seen from Carson Palmer yet.
Well, I think Carson Palmer is a rhythmic thrower. That when his feet are underneath him and he's on time getting the ball out, and he hitches and turns it loose, the ball comes out accurately, and that's a good route on the outside. As I said, he's one of the fastest guys in the league. He's able to drive and push people off of him. He creates the separation, but Carson, delivering it on time, makes a good throw on 3rd down.
15 yards on 3rd and long. Kwan short came across. Was he drawn?
Neutral zone infraction. Defense number 99. 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
I see one official, Troy, overrule the other.
I think what he sees is Ted Larson, the right guard. He's going to reach back, and he's signaling to the running back what he's thinking in the blocking scheme. They want short. He sees everything. He sees any kind of movement. He's coming off the ball, and that's what drew him off.
Guy was a terrific high school basketball player. Could dunk as a freshman. Great athlete. Had an 11-sack season. 1st and 5. Here's Johnson, nowhere to go. Got a hand up on the face, and that might draw a flag.
It looked like maybe a face mask there, the way the head turned.
Flag is thrown. We'll get the call.
Yeah, it was just across.
Addison with a turn of the face mask and the helmet.
Personal foul. Face mask. Defense number 97. 15-yard penalty from the end of the run. Automatic first down.
It's Mario Addison. So it adds 15 yards, and that will take the football all the way inside Carolina territory after a 2-yard run. Addison will get more playing time in this game, also with the loss of Jared Allen, who has a broken bone in his foot. Was raring to go in this game, but declared inactive. David Johnson right side. Good blocking out in front. Coleman can't bring him down initially. And a good run by David Johnson, who had been bottled up the last 3 weeks. Not so here tonight. Good for 15.
Zone stretch play, and Larry Fitzgerald does a good job in blocking. And you know, Bruce Arians feels that he's the best blocking wide receiver in all of football, and You can make a strong case for that. He's been good throughout his career. He takes a lot of pride in being able to make some of those types of blocks. He's able to get enough to allow David Johnson to pick up a nice game.
He's carried that offense. Saw the numbers, 80 total yards. Gets it again, nothing. Thomas Davis again, tackle number 6. David Johnson is a triplet. One of 3, has 2 sisters, grew up in Clinton, Iowa. I came out of nowhere, 3rd-round pick out of Northern Iowa. Had a breakout game at Philadelphia December 20th, had 187 rush yards, but only 99 total the last 3 games. He's breaking back loose here tonight.
Well, if he can continue to run the football and pick up some of the gains that we've seen here on recent runs, that should settle down this offense a little bit, but more than that, finishing off this drive.
Lined up wide to the right in the offensive formation. Here's the tight end, Fells. He leaps into Thomas Davis, who is banged up. And Fells is good for 15. Harper's still out. And let's go down to Chris Myers. Chris.
Yeah, Joe, initially he wanted to go back in the game. There's a cut under his eye, and they've downgraded him now to questionable. They gave him an ice pack. There's some swelling there. They're concerned about the vision. So officially questionable. Harper doing all that he can, the general in that secondary, to get back onto the field.
Meanwhile, Darren Fells leaped into the waiting arms of Thomas Davis on that tackle. And it's that right arm elbow that really took it all on from Darren Fells.
Well, I don't know what kind of move that is by Darren Fells. I mean, normally if you do that, you're anticipating a defensive back going down low and that you're going to go over the top of him. But Thomas Davis, he's going to hit you right in the chest.
Well, that does not look good at all. And a guy who is part of the best linebacker tandem in the NFL with Luke Kuechly, vital to the success of this defense. Here's a look from the front side. And he immediately came out of there grabbing that right arm.
Well, obviously he's having an outstanding game and he's a Pro Bowl player. They'll bring in A.J. Klein, will be the next linebacker in, and they view him as a 4th starter. He's had playing time this year when Kuechly was out, and he's a good linebacker also.
Carson Palmer's heating up, 7 for his last 9. Near side, pass caught, first down, the rookie Nelson. And he is set up 1st and goal, brought down by Robert McClain, and that's one of those matchups that Carson Palmer wants, anybody on McClain as opposed to Norman on the other side.
Yeah, well, he's going to be the guy that people target. You know, when you've got Josh Norman on one side, then McClain is the one that you focus on as you take a look at Carson Palmer's numbers and how, as you said, he's heated up since he started this ball game. If he can get some time and he can get into a rhythm like he is, he's got plenty of guys to feed the ball to.
Johnson. Cut left, then cut it upfield right into the arms of Norman. Josh Norman's not afraid to tackle, and a guy who last week broke out of his coverage in his zone defense to come flying in and pick up his first career sack, a freelance play when he brought down Russell Wilson.
Yeah, and we talked to him about that on Friday. He was sure pretty proud of himself for doing that. Glad that it worked. I don't know what Ron Rivera might have had to say to him if it hadn't.
10th play of the drive. Johnson again slams it into the end zone. And the Cardinals are on the scoreboard. They are riding the 6'1", 224-pound back who came on in the second half of the season. A 10-play, 79-yard drive.
They get Upati, the left guard. He clears out of space to allow him to score. So they get helped with the face mask penalty. Adds 15 yards, but really a nice drive there by the Cardinals, finishing off with a touchdown.
Davis has to go in to get looked at. We've seen 2 extra points missed this postseason. Gostkowski today earlier in Denver and won by Washington. A wild card game against Green Bay. Catanzaro makes it a 10-point game. Cardinals making noise. David Johnson pounds it in. It's a 10-point game in Charlotte. Beautiful night here in Charlotte. Let's go down to the field and Chris Myers.
Joe Thomas Davis walking unassisted past the locker room, walked right into the x-ray room, never moved his right arm. They're taking x-rays. We'll update those x-rays as soon as they become available.
That is kind of a fluke thing as Fells went up in the air and the right leg of the big tight end banged into the right elbow and forearm of Thomas Davis. Such a vital part of this defense for Carolina. Scanzero will kick it away. The drive for the Panthers up 10 will start at the 20. And we will welcome you inside the broadcast booth. I'm Joe Buck with the Hall of Famer Troy Aikman. And what are you seeing? Some life over there on the Arizona sideline.
Yeah, it didn't look good for Arizona when they got down with that big deficit, but that was a nice drive on their part. And I think the impressive thing, if you're Bruce Arians, is that they were able to get David Johnson going and running the football, and Carson, big third down conversion that also kept that drive going. But great job of finishing off the drive and closing it to a 10-point game.
Now we'll see if the Panthers can answer. Under 6 to go, first half. Newton keeps it. And out on the edge, Cam Newton spins forward. Peterson there to bring him down, but a gain of 7. They just live with the fact that he's going to get hit. You know, we saw all that read option a couple of years ago, RG3 and Colin Kaepernick. And guys like you were saying, yeah, but you're getting your quarterback blown up every time either hands it off or keeps it. They don't care. Newton's big enough to take it.
Yeah, we've talked to Ron Rivera, we've talked to Mike Shula. Clearly they would prefer for him not to get hit, but that's such a big part of this offense. And at 250 pounds, you know, he can withstand the punishment.
Slings it to the sideline, and Bethel almost was there to take it away. Corey Brown was the target. Bethel looking for a bounce back weekend after the game against the Packers.
Yeah, he's able to drive on that ball, and Cam Newton just throws it a little bit behind him, but a good job by Bethel. And like you said, I think all the coaches, Bruce Arians, James Betcher, all of them were kind of wondering how Bethel was going to come out and play in this game because of some of the plays that he gave up. And that went over the Packers last week.
Brown starts in the backfield, now is in motion. Third down and 3. Newton throws out of the reach of Fozzie Whitaker. The protection started to break down. Cam Newton had Whitaker, but overshot him with a little jump throw.
Yeah, Bethel, we talk about the play that he made on the previous throw, and he almost gets caught here. He starts to drive on an underneath receiver and opened it up, and almost a big play for Carolina.
That is back-to-back 3 and outs for the Carolina Panthers after they scored on their first 3 possessions. Nortman hits it sideways, and on the run, it is off the arms of Peterson, and now the fight for the football. It was almost a shank. It belongs to Carolina. And Patrick Peterson on the dead run tried to make something happen and probably tried to do too much.
Well, if he's able to catch that, he's driving on the ball. He's going to have a good chance for a return and a big play, and he just doesn't secure the catch. But they're able to make a stop, get the ball right back to an offense that's got a lot of momentum going for them, and just unable to field that punt. And then now they give the ball back to Carolina on a short field.
Teddy Williams comes away from the bottom of that pile with a football. He was not one of the first guys to have a crack at it, but he comes in there, and it was caused by a short 34-yard punt. As they look at it upstairs, right now it's the second turnover for Arizona, and Bruce Arians' team is Carolina right now is +4. And that turnover ratio They led the league at plus 20 during the regular season. There's Williams with the recovery.
You know, you come into a game like this, Joe, and as I said, both these teams, top two teams in creating takeaways. That's a special teams turnover there, but you look at it and you say, okay, a lot of times in a game, coaches always say whoever wins a turnover battle. This is really one of those games because of the way that these teams have played throughout the season, and just such a change of momentum when they have a chance to get the ball with good field position.
Long booth review here, Mike Pereira.
Yeah, I mean, they were just looking to the fact of who recovered the ball because that is reviewable, but they were able to finally confirm that. Looked pretty obvious to me.
Under 5 to go first half, and now opportunity for Carolina.
Go! 5-1, go!
Olsen split out wide to the right.
Look the corner.
Newton steps into it, looking for Ginn. Flag is thrown. The pass incomplete, but there was contact down the field. It could very well be against Patrick Peterson.
It looked like a double move there on the outside with Patrick Peterson. Yeah, he starts out and then stutters, and the grab by Peterson's a good call.
A bad 2 minutes for Peterson.
Prior to the pass, holding, defense number 21, 5-yard penalty, automatic first down.
So it's a hold, it's a 5-yard penalty and a first down. Peterson is trying to rally himself as much as he is trying to rally those around him after the special teams turnover and now the defensive hold.
It looked like Ted Ginn on the end of that play that he was having a hard time locating the football. Otherwise, if he had been able to come back, he had a chance to, you know, they get the 5-yard penalty, and that's what you do as a defensive back if you feel that you're beat.
Now Cotchery starts this play in the backfield.
20.
Here's Stewart. Jonathan Stewart inside the 25 to the 24, good for 17.
Well, here's Marcus Golden. We saw earlier when Cam Newton kept the ball, and this is what he's got to navigate. He's not certain whether or not Cam Newton's going to keep it or if he's going to hand it off to Jonathan Stewart. They hand it off, and Golden just not able to get enough. Another big run for Carolina.
Stewart again. Inside the 10, down inside the 5.
This offensive line, they're getting it going, and Greg Olsen pulls across, and he kicks out, and there's just a nice seam right in the heart of that defense. Jonathan Stewart takes it.
40 yards over the last 2 runs for Jonathan Stewart. And it sets up first and goal at the 1. Deadly in the red zone of late. Tolbert, nothing. While you're in this position for Arizona, you obviously don't want to give up the touchdown. It goes without saying. But you also want to leave some time on the clock here. 2 timeouts. You're trying to get that offense back out on the field before the half. Second and goal.
You just think, I mean, right, things were looking good for Arizona, and cut it to 10 to make a good stop, and they're going to get the ball with good field position, and now you got Carolina knocking on the door once again.
Stewart brought down by Rucker. Tony Jefferson, the safety, up to make the hit as well, and now it's 3rd down and goal from just inside the 1.
Good play on these first 2 runs by Carolina. The interior pressure, the first down run, Calais Campbell got there, and Frosty Rucker this time finished off by Jefferson. Those are 2 good defensive stops after not being able to slow down the run that got Carolina down in this position.
Panthers #1 in the NFL this year in points off turnovers. Knocking on the door here, leading by 10. 2-minute warning in Charlotte. NFL and team apps, podcasts, games, and more at itunes.com/NFL. Cam Newton, the elite quarterback, was 10 for 11. Running it on 3rd down and 1 and picking up the 1st down. If he converts here, it's a touchdown and the kids are lined up. On the stairway waiting for a souvenir, 3rd and goal. Here comes Cam. He got it. Touchdown. Sean Weatherspoon came out of there celebrating for Arizona, but the touchdown call came early. Touchdown, Panthers.
We've seen them when they get down in that position, Joe. They were the 5th best in the league on 3rd and 1, and this time Cam Newton calls his own number, and it's a cross. From here, it didn't look like to me that it was that easy of a call, but from that angle, he definitely got it across the goal line, and big touchdown here for Carolina.
Yeah, points off the turnover for the Panthers. They were the best in the league at that during the regular season, how they were helped to 15 and 1, and Patrick Peterson turned it over. You know he's thinking about that. The extra point by Gano. The only question left is which kid got the ball down behind the end zone. Flag is down on the extra point.
I think the bigger question is how many kids in Charlotte don't have a ball.
Cam Newton said the kids get the first right of refusal, and he will see them out of the corner of his eye lining up in that stairway looking for the football.
He said when they get down in the red zone.
Illegal formation. Defense. 7 men on half the line of scrimmage. The 5-yard penalty will be forced on the kickoff. Try is good.
He said he sees them come all down to the fence there waiting to get their souvenir.
Well, we'll see who got it. It started with Patrick Peterson, the muff punt, the turnover. Cam Newton took it up and over. And then his favorite handoff. He gets it 24-7. Cam Newton won a national championship at Auburn University, and he found a little kid in an Auburn hat. After taking it in from 1 yard away, up and over the top. And it's 7 points off the turnover, back to a 17-point game, and the need for an answer from Arizona prior to halftime.
Yeah, especially considering that Carolina gets the ball to start the second half.
2 timeouts left, 1:56 on the clock. Drive will start at the 20. The Walter Payton Man of the Year Award, presented by Nationwide, honors players who have significantly impacted both the game and their communities. This year's finalists, announced earlier today, are 49ers wide receiver Anquan Boldin, Saints tight end Benjamin Watson, and Giants quarterback Eli Manning. They are all carrying on Walter Payton's legacy of dedication to the highest standards. As both a player and a humanitarian, the winner will be announced at the NFL Honors Show on February 6th on CBS. Last year's winner, Thomas Davis, not out there for the Carolina defense as they continue to look at him. Back in the locker room. Palmer has it knocked out of his hand. And Fells can't get to it. Boston is there. Did he cover up? He did. Johnson knocked it out, and it's turnover number 3 for this Arizona team in the first half.
Things are just unraveling for the Arizona Cardinals. Charles Johnson, he's working against right tackle Bobby Massey, and he gets Carson's arm. As he's coming back, we'll take a closer look, and ball clearly out as he's bringing it back to make the throw.
Trey Boston on top of it. It doesn't happen by coincidence. Ron Rivera, who is in charge with these Carolina Panthers, as his defensive coordinator, Sean McDermott, put together Tackling Wednesday every week, where they go over form tackling. They don't bring guys to the ground, but they set up to tackle, and Turnover Thursday, where they have situations and stations, and they're the best in the NFL at this. They've taken it away 3 times.
Well, they're the best in the NFL, giving the ball to their offense with short field, and their offense is as good as there is in the league and converting those into 7 points.
Third time Carolina starts inside Arizona territory, and nothing here. Jonathan Stewart into the arms of Frosty Rucker. Second down.
Well, they're trying to get something going offensively, Arizona is, and match the score that Carolina just came away with after the punt by Patrick Peterson. And Bruce Arians is an offensive coach that just does not like to give those tackles much help, and we've seen pressure off the edge throughout this first half on Carson Palmer.
Second and 10. This is Peterson. Did he need that? Patrick Peterson on the return. Down the sideline, getting blocks, trying to turn this first half around, and he's down inside the 25. And there is life for the Arizona Cardinals. He giveth and now he taketh away, and Ginn is there to make the tackle. An interception thrown, a rare one from Cam Newton.
Yeah, just an errant throw. They're trying to get the ball to Ed Dixon, the tight end, and he's open. I mean, you drive that ball right in the hole, and it's an easy completion, but it gets away from Cam Newton. This is a great look at it here, and you've got Patrick Peterson just waiting there, playing deep thirds, and makes the interception.
Newton came in over the last 9 games, 22 touchdown passes, 1 interception. The return 72 yards by Patrick Peterson. And now from the 22, can the Cardinals cash in? Showing blitz, Kuechly comes on it. Palmer, end zone, gives it back. Intercepted by Coleman. The Cardinals and Panthers trade interceptions, and that could be backbreaking for Carson Palmer.
Yeah, I don't know what he was looking at, Joe. Kurt Coleman is hanging right in the hole. You're going to try to, here's Coleman, you're going to try to run a post, and he's hanging back there, and that's the guy you're looking at as the quarterback, and you got to wait and see what he does. If he levels off and you think you can get it over the top of him, you take that shot, but I don't think Coleman really showed anything other than he was going to be in a position to make the play on this, and at this point in the game on first down to try to force something like that in that area of the field, just not smart.
John Brown was the target. Kurt Coleman, what a year he had. 7 interceptions to tie for 3rd in the NFL during the regular season. And he adds a big one here. So Peterson gets one for Arizona, and Kurt Coleman turns around and on the very next play gets one for Carolina. Piece of halftime coming up. Kurt, Terry, Howie, Michael, and Jimmy. They're not under there. They will step in once that thing pops up. And the guys getting set to go. 25 seconds left in the half. And it will be a 17-point game, but these big leads for the Carolina Panthers at halftime have been anything but gimmies in the second half. That was true last week. It was true earlier in the year against Indianapolis. It was true in the Meadowlands against the Giants. But so far, so good for the #1 seeded Carolina Panthers. The #2 seeded Arizona Cardinals. It has been a rough first half. 17-point lead. Piece of halftime coming up from Charlotte after this. It's excitement brought to you by Nissan. That was tonight's excitement brought to you by Nissan. Carolina Panthers, who lead this game by 17, will get the ball to start this second half. You look at the first half statistics. Total yards, it's not crazy. That second from the bottom line, turnovers 4-1. Cardinals have turned it over 4 times, or -3 in that turnover ratio. It's hard enough to win on the road in a championship game. Doing that makes it almost impossible. Fonzie Whitaker on the return from just inside the end zone. Can't make the 20. What'd you learn, Aaron Andrews?
Well, that Bruce Arians told his quarterback Carson Palmer to settle down. And he said that throw that was picked by Kurt Coleman, you can't make throws like that. And he said these third downs are just simply unmanageable. He did tell his team, Joe, this Carolina Panthers team, they're the worst second half team in the NFL. And he told me if they can do anything in these first 5.5 minutes, then Arizona's going to win the game.
Well, we'll see how it plays out. 17 points right now.
And Carson Palmer, he knows that 13th year, finally won a playoff game, wants to be a world champion, and he's got the best team that he's had around him in his career, and he's going to have to play his best football here this second half.
4-man rush, pass is caught for a first down by Cotchery. And a good throw there by Cam Newton.
And a great way to start off this second half. Just drop back and let Cam Newton sling it. And he gets it to the veteran, Jericho Cotchery, who has been a real reliable guy this year for Cam Newton.
Cam keeps it, left side. A gain of 4, and we go down to Chris Myers.
Well, Ron Rivera said he'll stay aggressive, especially after last week, and you saw that in that series a moment ago. A couple of injury updates. Veterans Thomas Davis out with an arm injury, Roman Harper out with an eye injury, and the knee injury to Ryan Khalil. He is back in, suffered in the second quarter. Ron Rivera said he didn't have to say a word to his team at halftime, Joe. He said Cam Newton got up and spoke and told the team how important this was, what it meant, and let's finish it.
Chris, thanks. 2nd and 6. Toss to Stewart running right. Knocked down by Stinson.
You know, when we talked to the players on Friday, Joe, coming off of the win from last week, it had the big lead 31-0 against Seattle, and you know, it does take a little bit of the wind out of your sails when it all of a sudden becomes a game, and it finished up as a 7-point game. I thought Mike Shula really kind of called the game the way you needed to based on how dangerous Seattle is. But they open up this possession, they throw in the football, and obviously a much different game here at 24-7.
See if this is a first down by penalty. It's 3rd down and 2.
Neutral zone infraction. Defense number 93. 5-yard penalty results in a first down.
As you watch Frosty Rucker coming across, Carolina is leading by 17. They've led by 17 or more at the half 6 straight home games. That's the longest streak since the 1973 Dolphins. That's how dominant the Carolina Panthers have been at home, where they've gone 9-0 this season. Second half point differential. That's why some of those games have ended up close. Been outscored in the second half. How's this one going to go? Here's Olsen. Inside the 30. Working on Tony Jefferson, good for 29.
This is Greg Olsen. He's been doing it for the last 4 or 5 years here in Carolina. And he gets up the seam. He completely turns around Tony Jefferson. We saw Corey Brown do it earlier in the first half against Rashad Johnson. And this time Greg Olsen does it to Tony Jefferson, and with time in the pocket, again, nobody around Cam Newton, he delivers a strike.
Number 88 this postseason has 8 catches for 8 first downs. He makes some count, play action from Newton. Pass is underneath the Brown, and he gets popped by Gerard Powers. Let's go back and look at the protection for Cam Newton.
This offensive line As I said earlier, they've been the heartbeat of this team, and they've been a good group. I know Bruce Arians talked about it and said, hey, it's probably the best offensive line we've seen all year. And just an excellent throw by Cam Newton to Greg Olsen.
What we got? 5.
Second down and 3. Stewart right side. Lost a yard. Minter was there for Arizona.
I like this drive, though, to start this second half. And I do think that Mike Shula has made a statement and has made these players aware, hey, we're not letting up. We're going to continue to throw the ball and be aggressive, and that's what they've done. They've mixed it up, and even now, depending on what happens here on third down, in a position to come away with some points.
There's Mike Shula. Another legendary coach, Don Shula. Brother to David Shula. On a roll here with Carolina. Here's Tolbert out of the backfield, first down and more. Inside the 10, first and goal. Yards to Mike Tolbert, brought down by Jefferson.
And Mike Tolbert, he just takes off on an arrow route right to the flat, and Deone Buchanan looked like he was the one who's trying to get out there to cover him, but he has to navigate a lot of bodies there before he can, and it's a well-designed play.
6th different receiver Cam Newton has found in this game.
And Mike Tolbert, he's going to the Pro Bowl as well, and just such a versatile guy, and the kids, they're lining up.
Tolbert, rather Stewart. As Tolbert got him in position, Stewart takes it near the 5, second down and goal as Stewart picked up 4. Ron Rivera, his father, military officer, he didn't like getting hit. So somebody on their way, it was Tolbert coming off the sideline, banged into the left arm of Ron Rivera, who was a really good linebacker in his day with Chicago.
Well, that's just proof that even linebackers, when you get old, you get a little soft.
Second and goal. Newton backs out of there, looking to throw it. Down he goes. Stinson there to tap him down. Stewart lost his footing, spinning around. It'll be third and goal.
No, that's Stinson. He's able to get the pressure up inside. Looked like maybe that Cam Newton was, he got a little tricky here in the pocket. If he takes off right there, he's got some room out in front of him that he may even score. Someone's got to come up and tackle the big guy, but he just loses his footing trying to escape Stinson.
They have protected Cam Newton very well. Just given up 1 sack. He's been hit only 3 times. Third and goal. Newton slings it. That's Olsen, but he's short of the end zone. And if nothing else, the Cardinals defense keeps Carolina out of the end zone. The field goal unit will come on for the Panthers.
But a good drive, the way that they were able to put some plays together to get down there, and Cam Newton on that throw. Really good work with his eyes, moving defenders to give Olsen an opportunity.
Yeah, but even on the sack, which went to Stinson, he didn't force anything. And Cam Newton has not thrown a pick going down in the red zone coming into this game all year long. This from 21. The lead is 20. More points on the board for the Panthers, trying to earn their trip to Super Bowl 50, leading at home by 20 points. They got a guy in this stadium who knows about championships. The owner of the Charlotte Hornets, Hall of Famer, and we had a chance to visit with him last week. He's really developed a nice relationship with Cam Newton, and Cam really looks up to him. Cam talked about his rivalry with Seattle, like Jordan early on in his career against the Pistons back in the day. And down by 20 points, the drive will start at the 20. For Arizona and Carson Palmer, hoping this will be a better half. Thomas Davis has the jacket on. Pads are still on, but he is out. With that right arm wrapped up, who knows the extent of the injury. Carson Palmer, the best passer rating in the second half this season. He'll need all of it. His defense needs to find some answers as well. Here's Johnson. David Johnson, right side, brought down by Shaq Thompson, a gain of 2. Not a good first half for Carson Palmer.
No, he missed some easy throws under a lot of pressure there in the pocket. And the longest completion that they had in that first half, just 16 yards. They took 2 shots deep, had opportunities on both, failed to hit them. But for an offense and a quarterback that came out expecting to be able to exploit, some of the lack of depth in the secondary for the Carolina Panthers, they've been unable to do any of that.
Carson Palmer turned it over 3 times in the first half. Short throw. David Johnson trying to spin out of bounds, stays in. Josh Norman was out there on the stop. Trey Boston ended up with a football. It stays with the Cardinals. Manageable third down coming up, 3rd and 2.
We showed Roman Harper, who's out of the game, and that Trey Boston is playing for him. Just a second-year guy, but a really talented guy. And you lose the experience of Roman Harper, but Trey Boston has better range, and at this stage of his career, a more athletic guy.
Each possession so critical. Down by 20 and a drop from Larry Fitzgerald. Would have converted for the first down, but Fitzgerald dropped it. And he has an opportunity slipped through his hands.
It looked like it. I wonder why he jumped. It looked like it might have gotten tipped. It's Kuechly off the edge, who David Johnson is blocking. But, it was Star Latulele that was able to get his hand on the ball just enough that didn't allow Fitzgerald to come down and catch.
Butler hits it. And a juggle and a catch by Ted Ginn. That ball was tipped. The jump was a little bit off. And the drop from Larry Fitzgerald as the frustration continues for the Cardinals. The defense on the sideline for the Panthers. Larry Fitzgerald had 6 receiving yards in the first half last week, 10 here tonight in the first half. That tip ball was into and out of his hands on 3rd down, so the Panthers have it, leading by 20. From the 21, it's Stewart. Buchanan in there on the tackle. A big day coming in February on Fox. Michael and Jeff.
Michael, Daytona Day is coming. It's going to be my first one in the booth. You got any plans?
Yes, I do, my man. I'm going to get together with a bunch of friends. We're going to do our Daytona Day chili cook-off at my place, and I'm going to watch you call the race.
Awesome. Cannot wait. Just 4 weeks till Daytona Day.
4 weeks away, and welcome to Fox Sports to Jeff Gordon. He's been with us during the course of the weekend. Here's Newton to the sideline and caught by Ginn. Right through the hands of Powers. And Ginn is waiting for it for a completion of 39.
Again, he's running the wheel route and the ball's out, and Powers just unable to get up high enough to make a play on that ball. Just perfectly thrown over the top of him into the hands of Ginn. Initially, it looked like on the other side is where Newton was wanting to go with the ball. Bethel, I thought he might have gotten away with a hold, but he works back the opposite side of the field and finds Ginn along the sideline.
Wide receivers really involved this week for the Panthers, and Cam Newton in the pass game fakes the pitch and then goes down inside the 40. The Carolina Panthers lost Kelvin Benjamin, their stud rookie from a year ago during camp, their first-round pick out of Florida State. And so the wide receivers, while they haven't caught a ton of passes, when they've made catches, they have made them count. Averaging over 14.5 yards per catch. That was good for 2nd in the NFL. There's Kelvin Benjamin. Cam Newton knew that his teammates' eyes were on him when Benjamin went down to see how he would react. He plowed ahead. And here he is. Good clock! 16-1 on the year. Play clock winding down. Carolina takes a timeout before a second down. Watch Super Bowl 50 live on your phone with NFL Mobile. Panthers had to take a timeout.
Yeah, a lot of discussion going on in that offensive huddle with Cam Newton talking to Devin Funchess and Corey Brown, and as much conversation that took place, I would expect to see something here. Shot down the field.
Quick snap. Here's Funchess. Open along the sideline and knocked out of bounds with a first down for Carolina by Peterson.
Well, a good route by Devin Funchess, who's really had a nice rookie season for this offense, and he's been relied on at times this year because of some injuries, and he just continues to get better and better. He's a big target at 6'4", played a little tight end actually in college, but they view him completely as a wide receiver here in Carolina, and a nicely run route on that play.
For the wide receivers and the mark they're making, 8 catches, 192 compared to last week against Seattle. High snap. Newton finds Olsen. And Olsen is knocked down by Minter. No gain.
This is just another good drive by Carolina. They're mixing it up. I like what Mike Shula's done, and then Cam's delivered some nice throws. But again, they're down here in field goal range, and just as importantly, they continue to take time off this clock.
Previous drive that ended up in the field goal lasted over 7 minutes. And this another good one. 2nd and 10. Dixon can't make the catch. Tony Jefferson is coming away from the play, hoping he didn't get a flag and maybe begging for offensive pass interference.
Now, this is almost a great catch by Dixon off the back shoulder. And take a look. There's definitely some sparring going on between those two. I like the non-call. We heard from Mike Pereira earlier in this game. Throughout the playoffs, we've seen the officials let these guys go.
Clock stopped with 2:49 left. 3rd quarter. 3rd down and 10. It's Newton being chased down from behind. Powers doesn't get there, and we'll see where they mark it. Looks like enough for a first down. As he went right through Chris Clemens and picked up yet another.
It's almost not even fair, Joe. You saw what I saw. Gerard Powers is barreling down on Cam Newton. Anybody else, he catches them, and Cam Newton at 250 pounds just outruns him for the first down.
Does any quarterback in the NFL have a better nose for a first down or a touchdown than Cam Newton? Continue to run him. He is in for the touchdown. Ginn gets to give it away. And the likely MVP has been celebrating since this game began.
You see these two, Trey Turner and Ryan Khalil, they pull out. This is a quarterback keeper the entire way, and he finishes this off with his Superman impersonation. He didn't have to go over the top, but he decides to, and the guy's absolutely fearless when it comes to running the football and doing whatever he has to do to put his team in a position to win a game.
There is nobody like him in the game today. He can do it with his arm, he can do it with his legs. Cam Newton responsible for 49 touchdowns this season for the Panthers. Up 27. It is a party down below. Aerial coverage provided by Nationwide. I think you can get misled by the pregame costume changes and the dances and the celebrating and all that, and lose what Cam Newton is as a quarterback and as a leader. He is the undisputed leader of this team. Ron Rivera lets him be him. Not scared of getting him hit. If he told us that he wants to go out, letting people know that he had fun playing this game, well, he's doing it in front of a national audience here tonight. Cam Newton, what a season. I mean, what a season for a guy that was responsible for 45 touchdowns during the regular season.
Well, the guy's won at every level, right? And there was a lot of questions as to whether or not Cam could handle this stage, and we all know what he did in college. We all know he likes this stage, and I don't know about you, Joe, but I know for me, I didn't expect anything different. I thought he would come out and play well, and he certainly has done that, but it hasn't just been Cam Newton. It's been a collective effort. The defense has been outstanding. They've gotten some help from the special teams, and Arizona, I expected a lot more out of them, especially this offensive unit.
And now Carson Palmer is a sitting duck back there as he gets it out of his hand quickly to David Johnson. Knocked out by McLean. Coleman was out there as well, a gain of 7. Johnson's looking for a hit out of bounds. 2nd down and 3. In the last 5 possessions for Arizona. At one point they had closed it down to a 10-point game. They'd gone fumble, then touchdown, fumble, interception, punt.
All those big plays that we talked about coming into this game, it's time for them to start hitting one at least. They haven't even gotten one big completion in this game.
2nd and 3. Quick setup and throw, and this is off the hands of Larry Fitzgerald. McLean was out there in coverage. These are 2 guys in the secondary, and McLean was in coverage on Fitzgerald, who drops another one. But Cortland Finnegan and Robert McLean, 2 guys, they were added late in the season. Finnegan in November and McLean in mid-December, and they're holding up.
They're holding up against the second best pass offense in football. Their secondary loses 2 of their 3 best corners the last month of the year. They bring these guys in. Cortland Finnegan, he didn't even have a job.
Pass caught. Fitzgerald, that's his 3rd catch, and it's a 1st down for Arizona.
They certainly benefit by this pass rush and the speed of the linebackers, but they've held up well.
Sean McDermott is the defensive coordinator for Ron Rivera in Carolina. These guys love playing for McDermott. Here's a good throw for a 1st down on a catch by J.J. Nelson. Good for 11.
There's a look at Sean McDermott, the defensive coordinator. He interviewed for a couple of jobs during the bye week. I really thought he was going to get an opportunity, but he has done an excellent job with this defense.
Said Nelson, that pass caught by Brown. Here's one over the middle, and this is Jerron Brown. His 1st catch of the game. And now in this hurry-up approach, the Cardinals are making some noise with 30 seconds left in the 3rd quarter. Off to Johnson, nothing out there. Kuechly and Addison were there to make the stop. And we'll see if that's the last play of the 3rd quarter. 3 quarters dominated by the home team, the Carolina Panthers. 2 seconds, 1 second, they just get it away. Palmer underneath to Johnson. Johnson to the 30, maybe just inside. It'll be 3rd and short when we start the 4th quarter. Cam Newton showing all he can do all night long. Back after this from your local Fox station. 27-point game as the 4th quarter begins here in Charlotte. We will meet the Denver Broncos in Super Bowl 50.
Oh yeah, let's go, baby.
Carolina has led from the get-go. 3rd down and 2. Pass is dropped again. This time Fells, the tight end. And we'll see what Bruce Arians wants to do. Down by 27 points. You need touchdowns. The offense will stay out there instead of kicking the field goal. It's 4th and 2.
Yeah, not much of a decision to make. The thing that I've really been surprised about, Joe, is they've really been unable to get Larry Fitzgerald going. I mean, that's a guy who has thrived in the postseason, coming off a huge game, thin in the secondary. They move him around, and yet they've just not been able to find ways to get the ball into his hands.
Pass is caught for a first down by Johnson. And it's not Josh Norman. You think about Josh Norman and the great Larry Fitzgerald, the young corner, the all-pro. Norman doesn't go into the slot. Larry Fitzgerald runs a lot of his stuff out of the slot. So it's been other guys, as Norman has seen a lot of Michael Floyd, who's been shut down in this game, by the way.
Yeah, and that tends to be what happens. You know, Josh Norman's lining up in your area, and they've mixed it up a little bit. Cortland Finnegan has been over there on Fitzgerald. We've seen Shaq Thompson. This time, nobody's lined up on him.
Pass is caught by Fells for the touchdown. With 44 seconds expired in quarter number 4, the Cardinals get their second touchdown.
Well, Darren Fells, 21 receptions on the season, and these are some of the things that he does a pretty good job of. He's a big body, and sometimes he just gets forgotten. He gets a free release up the seam, and Carson finds him, and they're able to finish off this drive, and Bruce Arians going for 2 points here.
Trying to pile up as many points as he can. This will be the first 2-point attempt by the Cardinals all season long. Palmer from the shotgun. Nelson on the handoff. He leaps and he's got it. Had to break a tackle to get it in, and J.J. Nelson, who can fly, is good for the 2-point conversion. Went through McLean and took it in. 8 points put up on that possession. 34-15 game in the 4th. It is a 3-score game here in the NFC Championship as we're just underway in the 4th quarter. As Darren Fells takes it in from 21 yards out. The 2-point conversion good. It's a 19-point game. Patrick Peterson and that defense wondering if they can make a play to slow down Cam Newton. So far, that has not happened often. And Zero will drive it out of the back of the end zone. The night before Super Bowl 50, the NFL salutes the best players and plays of the season with a primetime star-studded football and entertainment special. NFL Honors hosted by Conan O'Brien. Saturday, February 6th at 9 o'clock on CBS.
Well, I'm one of the fortunate ones who has a vote on some of those awards in the All-Pro team, and Cam Newton got my vote for league MVP. He was sensational, and Tom Brady, who lost, I thought he probably did more with less with the amount of injuries that the New England Patriots had. He was my offensive player of the year, but just some really spectacular performances that are going to be recognized from the night before the Super Bowl.
We'll see how the Panthers want to play it. They hand it off to Stewart, and Red Bryant is in there to make the stop. We talk about head coach Ron Rivera. Steve Horn, our editorial consultant, talked to Johnny Rowland, who was with the Bears back in the mid-'80s when Ron Rivera showed up. And that defense that was run by Buddy Ryan was an intricate system. Great linebackers, anchored by Mike Singletary in the middle. Here's Newton with a drop on the outside by Corey Brown. It's 3rd down and 10, and even though he backed up, he could play all 3 spots. You're talking about guys like Otis Wilson, Wilbur Marshall, and obviously Singletary. And this guy is a studier, a worker, and he has really blossomed as a head coach in the NFL.
Yes, he has. He was around a lot of great players, of course, but what's helped him in his coaching is he's been around a lot of great coaches. I mean, when you consider Buddy Ryan as defensive coordinator, and then Jim Johnson and the time that he spent with Philadelphia, and he's got Sean McDermott now as his defensive coordinator running some of those same schemes.
Newton underneath. Olsen. Good tackle. Play made by Bethel. It's 4th down. And a good tackle by Justin Bethel. 6-footer, 200 pounds. And the 6'5", 253-pound Greg Olsen. You know what Patrick Peterson's thinking back there? He wants to give his team a jolt here early in the 4th quarter.
Yeah, he's certainly capable of doing it. He's a dynamic guy, and if he gets this ball and he can return it, that's what this Arizona team right now needs, is a big play to flip this field position.
Nortman hangs it high, and consequently a fair catch. A decent starting field position for the Cardinals. Down 19, their offense right back to the field. See if they can dig into this lead. 79-year-old owner and founder Jerry Richardson. Former player in this league, and when he makes somebody happy with an autograph, the Carolina Panthers entered the league in 1995. He became the first former player to be an owner in the league since George Halas, and these two teams are playing for the George Halas Trophy here tonight. Here's Johnson, makes the catch off his hip. Like he had his head turned around before he secured the catch. This kid's going to be something. Gain of 5.
Yeah, he's an awfully talented guy. He can do so much, and what they questioned was whether or not he would be a good inside runner. That was a knock on him, and it's really why he fell a little in the draft. But he certainly has proven his ability to do that when he took over for the injured Chris Johnson.
2nd down and 5. Palmer, sideline. Floyd gets on the board. He's been working against Josh Norman. Norman's had the better of that matchup, but this one good for a 1st down.
And a nice route by Michael Floyd, and able to come back out of that. Carson Palmer throws it on time, and it's a 1st down, and that's one of the areas I know in visiting with the staff where Michael Floyd has really improved this year. He's got immense talent, but has become a much better route runner. Got off to a slow start, came on strong mid-season, but they need some bigger chunks right now. Still plenty of time.
First catch for Floyd. Palmer throws it into coverage, and it's broken up. And Norman had it for a moment. Floyd knocked it away. And this one, again, was up for grabs out of the hand of Carson Palmer.
Yeah, I know. And coming into this game, they thought that there were times when Josh Norman may mistime some jumps, and you might be able to get one over the top on with Floyd, but that's not what I would call putting one over the top. Carson kind of works right into that collision with K'Wan Short, but that was a dangerous throw.
Cardinals trying to make it a game. 2nd and 10. Palmer protected. Fitzgerald overthrown, and it's dropped. Robert McClain was thinking about a postseason interception. Didn't make the catch.
Well, ball gets away from Carson, but he has some pressure. He gets grabbed a little bit in the pocket, which turns him. And I don't know how much that affected the throw, or if it's just a poor throw. You see Carson saying he got grabbed by the face mask. I didn't quite see that, but McClain misses a great opportunity for the interception.
Now 3rd down and 10. We figure 2 downs to get 10 yards to keep the drive alive. This is incomplete, and a flag is thrown as Fitzgerald ended up on the ground.
It's that matchup there in the slot. Cortland Finnegan, he's man-to-man on Fitzgerald as he tries to come out of it. He grabs him.
Holding. Defense number 20. 5-yard penalty. Automatic 1st down.
They say 20, that's Coleman. It looked like it was against Finnegan, 26 for the 1st down.
Yeah, and Fitzgerald, as I said, he's just got 3 catches in the game. They finally work in his direction, and a good call there. Clearly a hold on Finnegan.
This drive started at the Arizona 36. 2nd best starting field position for the Cardinals, down 19. First down at the 44 of Carolina. Only 3 men on the rush. Pump fake toward the end zone. Up for grabs and picked off by Coleman. his second of the game. And a flag is thrown at the end. Josh Norman celebrates. He thinks it's against Arizona. We'll make sure and get the call from Vinovich. Brown was the target.
You can see Kurt Coleman, he's in the middle, and
after the interception, personal foul, face mask. Number 20, 15 yards from the 20-yard line. Carolina foul, first and 10 at the 35.
It's against John Brown. Second pick by Coleman. And there's the face mask on John Brown. 5 turnovers in this game for Arizona, down 19. Here's the call.
After reviewing the play, the defender possessed the ball at the 1-yard line and his momentum carried him into the end zone. Therefore, he's dead at the 1-yard line. The 15-yard penalty will be out of there. It'll be first and 10 from the 16.
So the 15-yard penalty on the face mask by Brown takes it out to the 16. It turns into a pretty big penalty. Instead of Carolina taking over at the 1, they have some breathing room.
Well, Kurt Coleman was a ball hawk all season long, second in the NFL with 7 interceptions. He's playing middle field. You wonder if the finger has been bothering Carson Palmer, not just in this game, but ever since it happened 5 weeks ago, because his throws have just gotten away from him. But close on that one.
Carson Palmer suffered that dislocated index finger in that win at Philadelphia on the 20th of December. Carson in this game has thrown 2 interceptions. That means that since that time, he's now thrown 7 touchdown passes and 6 interceptions. It was bothering his pec, his lat, because he had to change the way he was throwing the ball. We saw it last night, and it is not a pretty sight looking at that index finger.
Well, if you're changing the way you're throwing the ball, clearly the finger is impacting you, and that is making you make adjustments to the way you throw.
Here's Stewart on 2nd and 4. Back to the line of scrimmage. Speaking of fingers, watch Mario Addison come in on that interception, see if he maybe got a piece of this.
Well, Mario Addison, he was camping in the background. I think he did get a hand on the ball. He was camping in the backfield that whole series. Kurt Coleman is in the middle of the field, and the ball is thrown upfield. You see where Brown has to try to traverse field to make a play. You got to take a shot at this point in the game because you got to come up with some big plays, but that ball gets away from Palmer where he throws it actually behind Brown. It doesn't lead him to give him a chance. It's out front. He probably outruns Kurt Coleman to the ball.
Here's a 3rd down and 4. Newton. Olsen, his favorite target, Greg Olsen, inside the 30 and down near the 25.
Some of these routes have just been a coach's clinic on how you get defensive backs turned around. This time, Justin Bethel, 28, and Greg Olsen, his second big-time route in this game in turning around a defender and giving Cam Newton just a great place to put the football.
He was number 2 in the NFL as far as receiving yards by tight end to Rob Gronkowski of New England. Averaged over 14 yards a catch. Handed off to Tolbert. Fights for a yard.
I don't think Ron Rivera is going to be answering any questions at the end of this game about taking his foot off the gas. I mean, they have continued to throw the football and mix things up, and it's been impressive to watch this offense and all the things that they've done.
And he's watched his team take it away 5 times. The 5 turnovers, the most by the Cardinals under Bruce Arians.
Yeah, and although Carolina really hasn't done much with those turnovers, just 7 points before this drive here. It obviously just minimizes your opportunities then as an offense to get points, and they've needed every possession the way this score has gone.
How about that play? Here's Tolbert on the handoff. On 2nd down and 9, 3rd down coming up. The moment you've been waiting for finally here. Tonight, the Emmy Award-winning pop culture phenomenon returns. David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson Star in the X-Files. The truth is still out there tonight after the game here on Fox. It's back. Music is back. The Panthers are back inside the red zone. 3rd and 5. 3rd and 10.
False start. Offense number 73. 5-yard penalty. Still 3rd down.
It's Michael Orr, who they moved back to left tackle. Guy who's got a ring with Baltimore, then was in Tennessee, and he was targeted by Dave Gettleman in this front office over the offseason to have him anchor that blind side for Cam Newton.
Dave Gettleman, he's done a nice job since he came in. That first draft class that he had when he brings in K'Wan Short, Star Latulele, and Marty Herney, the previous general manager, he has a lot to do with the assembling of this roster also.
3rd down and 10. Newton steps through it. He will slide forward for a 1st down.
Now blocking's good across the board. Andrew Norwell, the left guard, he sizes his guy up, and you got Ryan Khalil, who's out in front like a leading blocker. And Andrew Norwell, I thought last week was just exceptional the way that he played, and makes a good block there to spring Cam Newton.
Put it down.
1st and goal. Stewart stumbling takes it down to the 6. I mentioned Marty Herney was the GM for the Panthers 2002 to 2012. He hired Ron Rivera. He drafted Davis, Kuechly, Jonathan Stewart, Cam Newton, Josh Norman, Ryan Khalil, the 5-time Pro Bowl center. Now it's Dave Gettleman who's done a good job picking it up for the Panthers. Talk about the draft he had. Personnel is deep for the Panthers. 2nd and goal. Deep and good. Here's Stewart, who was on that list, to the 5. 3rd and goal.
Don't you know that Denver Broncos staff is at home watching this game right now, wondering how they're going to slow down this offense of the Carolina Panthers?
Well, it's going to be some matchup, if that is the matchup. Top defense in the NFL, the Denver Broncos. This is the offensive line that's done such a good job here tonight across the board.
It's a pretty good feeling, I can tell you. When, as a quarterback, you know that you're going to get your rushing yards every game. I mean, Cam's a big part of that. But they run the football well against everybody they face. And it's impressive. They do an excellent job, and the big passes off of that, the play action stuff, they drive the ball down the field, and it has continued tonight.
Newton keeps it. End zone passes. Caught for the touchdown. Funches. And they keep pouring the coals on the fire. They put up 40.
Heck, they get a free blitzer on Cam Newton, and he cuts it loose. Perfect timing, and delivers a strike to Funches.
Newton today, 5 on the touchdown throw to Funches. He's thrown for 2, run for 2, 50 touchdowns on the record for Cam Newton in this 2015-2016 season.
I mean, he's been spectacular all season, but he has been good at the biggest stage of his career here tonight. Like I said, a free rusher, and he hangs in there getting hit while he's delivering it, throws a perfect ball.
Well, here's a 2-point try by Carolina. They haven't attempted a 2-point try all year long. Tolbert back there with Newton. We'll see who it's against.
Neutral zone infraction. Defense number 51. Half the distance to the goal. Still try.
They'll move it to the 1.
They're changing their personnel group because of it. They bring in the extra lineman. Darrell Williams in, so they're changing the play, bringing in different personnel, and you'd expect run. Here with 1 yard to go.
It was just Tolbert. Now Stewart checks in.
Deuce.
And he's behind Tolbert. See if they try to run it right down their throat. Newton keeps it. Tolbert out of the backfield for 2. It's been a clinic. It's been all Carolina pointing their way towards Santa Clara and Super Bowl 50.
This from the Carolina sideline, special teams coach Bruce DeHavens in his mid-60s. Last spring, told he had cancer, seemingly healthy before that, limit on his time to live, according to doctors. 4 decades in coaching, he said, I'll fight, but I'll also coach. Owner Jerry Richardson said, you have our support, whatever you need. Through this, when he needed his treatments, he stepped aside. Players said he never complained, said a word. When I talked to him before the game, he said, I'm not the story. But his players, Joe Webb, Graham Gano, and not just special teams, said otherwise. He's been an inspiration to his entire team. DeHaven has been to the Super Bowl as an assistant with Buffalo, this time hoping for a feel-good story, maybe a win for Carolina and a win for Bruce DeHaven.
He was part of the great Marv Levy's staff as the special teams coordinator. One of the real good guys of this game. Good guys of professional sports. Here's Nelson on the return out across the 25. Flag is down on that return by Nelson.
During the return, holding, receiving team number 29. 10-yard penalty for the spot of the foul. Arizona keeps the ball. First down.
Let's go to the penalty against the Cardinals for the hold. Chris Clemens had a hold of David Mayo. So the drive will start inside the 15 at the 12 for Carson Palmer, who got that first playoff win last week. Traded to Arizona from Oakland in 2013. A record-setting year. He's picked again. Kuechly for the touchdown. To check on a fan who flopped down on the field. After the score, there's Charles Tillman on IR with a torn knee. And the celebration continues. Kuechly, who runs this defense.
It's his 3rd interception return for a touchdown this season. He's a playmaker on the defensive side of the ball. He's been great as a run stopper ever since he arrived in Carolina. Where he has improved the most this year is in his ability to cover. He reads it, he drives on it, makes a play on the ball, touchdown Carolina.
He had one last week against Seattle in the first quarter. They had a 21-yard return, and that is 6 turnovers by Arizona compared to 1 by Carolina. It has continued in the postseason. They work on it on Thursdays. And it's 49-15. The pick. Kuechly in his 4th year takes it in. A flag on the extra point. We'll get the call before we go to break. They lost Thomas Davis in the first half, an arm injury. We don't know the extent of it.
After the play was over, personal foul, unnecessary roughness. Kicking team number 79. 15-yard penalty on the kickoff.
And with that, we'll go to break. Quick one. Come right back here to Carolina. The celebration is on in Charlotte. roof is literally bouncing. And this defense celebrating. The offense, Cam Newton, 382 rushing and passing yards in the game, 4 touchdowns. And in this NFC Championship game, it's a record. Most in the Super Bowl era, 49 points put up by the #1 seed, a team that has lost only once this year. That was in Atlanta. And that was in Week 16. On the return, it's Nelson. Fozzie Whitaker downfield to make the play. The 2003 Panthers, a team that beat Philadelphia to get to the Super Bowl. It was a really good Super Bowl. A 3-point game. In the end, it was Vinatieri with a game-winning field goal and some of the names. And a team that offensively was led by Jake Delhomme and was coached by John Fox. Let's go! Denver Broncos, a team the Panthers will meet, a team also coached at one point by John Fox. Fitzgerald makes the catch. Meanwhile, Peyton Manning will become the oldest quarterback, Troy, to start a Super Bowl, beating the record by his boss, not Kubiak, but John Elway, who was 38 at the back end of the back-to-back Super Bowl championships at the end of his career.
Yeah, wouldn't that be something? Cap his career if the practice is it for him.
This one is picked again. Intercepted by Boston.
Full force here in Charlotte. Just another throw. Carson Palmer trying to drive the ball in the hole. Got a chance, but just leads him too much. Instead of having him work back towards him, Floyd's the one who he's trying to get it to. And, you know, like we said, this defense has been opportunistic all season long. It led the league in interceptions. It's been quite a show here tonight. And if you're Carson Palmer and the Arizona Cardinals, you just wonder how you ever bounce back from a game like this, especially for a guy who's in his 13th year, and so much was made of this season and what was around him in the buildup of this team to get to this position and not play any better than they have.
Derek Anderson takes over at quarterback. Here's Stewart. We're still running him. Jonathan Stewart, who missed 3 games with a sprained foot, carries it for 8. Mentioned Sean McDermott, the defensive coordinator for the Carolina Panthers. He's only 41. He interviewed for 2 head coaching jobs, Cleveland and Tampa Bay. There's Sean, who studied at the foot of the blitz master Jim Johnson in Philadelphia, as you mentioned. He's 41. The quarterback he'll be trying to slow down, the great 5-time MVP Peyton Manning in Super Bowl 50 in Santa Clara. See Newton, the first player in postseason history with 300 or more pass yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. Stewart, first down, stays in bounds.
You know, when we visited with Ron Rivera on Friday and what a job he has done this year, he talked about his growth as a head coach, and he said one of the things that he wishes that he had done a little differently was have a former head coach on his staff when he took the job, because he really had a lot to learn. But the guy who's taught him the most really has been John Madden, and we've talked about it on previous broadcasts, and we talked about the notes and the visits that the notes he took on these visits with John Madden. And Friday after our meeting, he wanted me to see these notes, and he copied them off, handed them to me, about 10 pages of typewritten notes, and it is an encyclopedia on coaching and a philosophy on how to run a football team. Pretty impressive stuff.
He gets text messages from John Madden. I'm sure John is beaming with what Ron Rivera has accomplished here. About to go to 17-1, and the biggest piece of advice John gave him was do it your way. Quit trying to be the quote-unquote head coach and do what you think is supposed to be done. Do it your way. You're going to get fired eventually. You might as well walk away knowing you did it the way Ron Rivera wanted to do it.
And I think once he heard that, Joe, which was a few years ago, I think that was the genesis of Riverboat Ron. You know, and he started doing things the way he wanted to, whether it was by the textbook or not.
Here's Fozzie Whitaker, who takes over for Stewart on 2nd and 12, and that'll take us to the 2-minute warning. It'll be a long offseason after this. Bad taste in the mouths of the Arizona Cardinals at the end of a great record-setting season. But it's all Carolina tonight. 2 minutes left in this NFC Championship game. Posing on the sidelines are the Carolina Panthers. On their way to their second Super Bowl in franchise history. History that dates back to 1995, and Neil Diamond, love it, serenading with Sweet Caroline. As Cam Newton will go to Super Bowl 50, trying to become the third quarterback ever to win a college national title and a Super Bowl, enjoying a list. It's got Joe Namath on it and Joe Montana on it. The 2016 NFL Pro Bowl is coming up. Hall of Famers Michael Irvin and Jerry Rice select the teams of the Pro Bowl draft on Wednesday, January 27th. And watch the Pro Bowl live from Aloha Stadium on Sunday, January 31st on ESPN at 7 Eastern. Go to NFL.com/Pro Bowl to learn more.
Pretty interesting matchup as we look at Super Bowl 50 with these quarterbacks. You got old school versus new age, and it's going to be hopefully a heck of a ball game, but certainly a lot of storylines for both of those teams heading into that ball game.
There's a head coach that thought he was cooked after his second year as a head coach in this league. Gatorade bath is on its way.
He was trying to get away.
They love him. Tradition that started with the great Bill Parcells and the Giants. Talk about old school, new school. Peyton Manning, the #1 overall pick in '98 by the Colts. Cam Newton, the #1 overall pick 13 years later in 2011 by these Carolina Panthers. Here's one overthrowing everyone in the direction of Michael Floyd. It's been a 7-turnover game for Arizona. For this upcoming Super Bowl, it will be the two #1 seeds hooking up. It'll be the top scoring offense in the NFL against the #1 defense. And it will be the 4th straight time the two #1 seeds will meet in the Super Bowl. Last year, it was Seattle and New England. Seattle and the Denver Broncos the year before in the Meadowlands. 2nd and 10, 1:09 left. David Johnson with a catch along the sideline.
You know, you look at Arizona and their season, Joe. We had them in Week 16 against the Green Bay Packers, and that's really when they peaked. They played a dominant game. Then Week 17, they faced the Seattle Seahawks, did not play well. Of course, they were nipping at Carolina's heels all year long, which forced them to play through Week 17 to secure a home field advantage. But a win last week against Green Bay, not a great performance in that win really on either side of the ball, and then a complete collapse here tonight, and that's hard to live with through an off season. I'm trying to get back and do it all over again a year from now.
Here's a sack to go on top of it, and it belongs to Kyle Love. Under a minute to go. Broncos are going to their 8th Super Bowl. They won Super Bowls 32 and 33. The Carolina Panthers are going to their 2nd. Floyd on 4th and 8 has a first down. Academic at this point, doesn't bother to go out of bounds. They can't wait to get out of here. Gain of 13 to Floyd.
Well, there'll be a lot of talk about Super Bowl experience and lack of, and I just think that it all depends on the players, depends on the teams, and I do not believe for 1 minute that playoff experience, Super Bowl experience, any of that's going to matter one bit here in 2 weeks.
Floyd stays in bounds. That means this game is over. The Carolina Panthers are NFC champions, and Ron Rivera is going to the Super Bowl. Go down to Chris Myers. Chris.
Joe, I'm on the field here. Cam, the game just ended. Was this dominant performance? Is this kind of emblematic of the year it's been for all of you?
We just wanted to come out and do what we was coached all week. You know, we wanted to be efficient. We wanted to start fast. We wanted to keep the pressure on, and we wanted to finish most of all.
Ron Rivera told me that you got up and spoke to the team at halftime. Can you share with us what you said?
It's confidential. but it worked.
Millions are watching. They're excited for this.
What's already understood shouldn't have to be said. And, you know, I don't want the credit. You know, this team, we won as a team. We came out here and fought our tails off, and we did what a lot of people said we couldn't do. It's not over yet. Right. It's not over yet. You know, I don't know who we're playing yet, but we'll be ready to go in 2 weeks.
Well, I can tell you, I know you're a big dreamer. You're playing Denver and Peyton Manning. Did you ever think at a Super Bowl you'd oppose him?
Oh, wow, playing the sheriff. But anyway, we're going to live in the moment right now. We're going to be excited. I'm very excited about this organization. Happy for Mr. Richardson, Coach Rivera, and the staff, and especially these teammates of mine, man. It's just great that we all battled, we worked so hard, and for it to come into fruition and pay off is great.
All right, well, you dab your way to the Super Bowl. Thank you,
sir.
Cam.
Thank you so much.
Have a good one. We appreciate your time, Joe.
Post-game show is coming up next. Cam Newton, has he grown as a pocket passer? Has he grown as a leader? No doubt. He takes his team to Super Bowl 50. State Farm post-game show, followed by the X-Files coming up.